Hey, Serene fam, and welcome back to another one of our chats. Okay, there's so much that happened over the past, I guess, weekend, you could say. And we're gonna recap, okay? Because I had the time of my life. If you haven't watched my other episode already about women being strong and beautiful, let me recap that for you because I feel like that played a role into what I did this past weekend, which was me basically saying that I wanted to celebrate women, especially knowing that International Women's Day was coming up. So I went on the internet and was looking for things to do. And I found out that they had a women museum, specifically women arts museum, and I was intrigued. So did a little bit more research and found out that they were having a specific exhibit for like International Women's Day. So I wanted to attend that. So that's what I did. And when I tell you I had so much fun, everything throughout the day just played out so well. And that video is posted for you guys that are curious about my experience. I basically vlogged the whole entire time, talked to y'all, showed you guys some of the art pieces that were my favorite and reflected on them and everything. And yeah, it was so much fun. And then afterwards, I went to an Italian restaurant in DC that was not too far away from the museum, and that was amazing. That vlog will be posted for you guys next week. But oh my gosh, that whole day was so much fun. Like I said, it reminded me of how special it is for you to spend some time alone because we are so used to being told that as women we shouldn't be alone. As women we need companion. As women we need to have kids. As women we need a man in our lives, right? Okay, let's forget about that. Let's completely forget about that because that day reminded me how much I love my own company and how much I want to get back into doing things alone. Because if you guys don't know, I'm in a relationship and I used to do things alone before, but I feel like once I started dating my boyfriend and we lived together and everything, we started doing things together. Like we go to the movies together, we do a lot of things together basically, right? Except for the things that he's personally not into, then I just, I go and do them alone or whatnot, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. But that day, I realized how much I miss just being in my own company and being able to just see the world in a different lens, if that makes sense. Because when you're alone, you're looking around, you're noticing little things, right? You're noticing people's mannerisms, you're noticing just different things, and you don't have other people around to, I guess, please in a sense that would potentially maybe hinder your experience. If you guys know what I mean, then you know what I mean, right? But yeah, I felt like I saw so much more. I was able to enjoy that museum experience without somebody telling me, oh, this isn't pretty. Oh, this isn't right. Oh, this is against men and things like that. And I remember in those moments when I was at the museum, I was there for about 3 hours, y'all. Yeah, I was immersed. I was immersed, okay? But I remember feeling like, wow, it is so amazing being a woman, and I wouldn't have it no other way. And it's crazy because a few days before that, my period was coming. And I was spiraling, going through all the emotions. You know how it goes. And I was like, oh my gosh, why do I have to go through this every single month? Oh my gosh, why is this happening again? Like all the thoughts that comes with that time of the month. We all know about it, okay? So I was just like, oh my gosh, it's exhausting being a woman. But that reminded me that it is also really beautiful to be a woman, to have a place where you can go to and just see women and how they perceive each other, how they perceive the world, how they put things together to tell a story was absolutely fantastic. I really, really, really enjoyed that experience. And maybe it's because I enjoy art in general. Maybe the next person wouldn't really enjoy, going to an art museum, but I personally really enjoyed that. And I would 100% do it again and 100% recommend it to y'all. It was great. The exhibits are still there, so if you guys want to go, just 100% go. And then for the restaurant, like I said, I vlogged that whole experience as well. So if you want to see my experience at the restaurant, make sure to tune in next week. That will be released for you as well. But I wanted to talk about being alone for a little bit because I remember back in college at some point, I always used to do things with other people, always trying to find somebody to go to a party with, always finding somebody to go to calf with, and things like that, right? And I remember at some point, I was having anxiety about going to calf alone, and one of my friends texted me and was like, just go. It's not that big of a deal. And I went and I realized it was not that big of a deal. And since then, I kept doing things alone and it was absolutely amazing. I got like so enwrapped in my little shell, my little bubble, that I was like, yeah, this is great. And I know a lot of us don't feel that way about being alone. And I feel like it's because society has continuously ingrained in our brain that we need this, we need a man, we need friends, we need this, we need that. And not to say that we don't need those things, but I feel like you enjoy those things more once you have had the experience of enjoying your own company. And that is where you're able to learn a whole lot about yourself, about what you're going to tolerate in life, what you're going to accept from other people, whether it's the minimum or not. And those things come from specifically being alone and seeing the world for what it is from your own perspective without anybody else trying to hinder you. And I feel like more women need to do more things alone. Yes, I know society makes it a little bit hard, right? Especially with men being around and predators and all that. I definitely understand. So you always have to stay high on alert, like all the time, which is something else that I was talking to somebody about how, as a woman, we're constantly having to look out for the next person. Like a man is walking towards you and you're wondering, like, what do I have on me to protect myself? And even at night when you're alone, you're just like, I have to be on high alert. I have, like, personally, once I get in the car, I'm locking the car instantly. And I realized that came with me being a woman, because when I noticed that my boyfriend don't do that, I was like, oh, okay, this must be cool. Like, what? But yes, I realized that society makes it seem like us being alone is a problem and we should fear being alone. But the reality is, they just don't want you to realize how beautiful of an experience it is. And they want you to not be able to stand on your own business. And I mean that so harshly, because once you realize your worth, once you realize things you're not tolerating, whether it's from a friendship, your family members, your significant other, whomever it is that's around you, you're going to stand on business and people are not going to be able to manipulate you. And so I feel like that's why society has continuously put in our brains that we shouldn't be alone. We shouldn't be old and wrinkly and not have a partner. Again, nothing wrong with having a partner. Nothing wrong with having a boyfriend, nothing wrong with those things at all. But once again, I feel like being in a space where you enjoy your own personal company makes that experience with other people even better. And I also talked about all of this at the restaurant when I was like living in the moment and just realizing how well my day was going just by being alone and just enjoying that moment. You're not on your phone. You're not in an awkward moment where you're wondering what the other person is thinking. You're just immersed in your own little bubble and you're able to just experience the food better. You're like, it's just something about it. Again, if you want to see about that, you'll see on that vlog specifically what I was talking about, because it was just a different experience. And within that same mindset, I also wanted to touch on the simple fact that women have been on high alert for so long that they forget how to enjoy their own company at times, because we always, again, have to look out for a man potentially wanting to hurt us and all the things that comes with just being a woman in general. You're fragile, you're frail, you're this, you're that. So you have to be on the lookout at all times. And your nervous system may be in a place where it's on fight or flight literally all the time. And so, once again, being alone helps you regulate that. It helps you just calm your nervous system down. It helps you unwind. It helps you just be better as a woman, because Something we don't really realize sometimes is that our bodies are completely different than a man's body, right? Not only are we able to carry a child for 10 months and be able to carry that and experience all types of different changes within our body during that time frame, we're also experiencing several different phases each and every single month in our bodies. And research has shown us that our hormones and those of men are not the same at all. And so we're ultimately affected differently when it comes to things that we're ingesting, things that we're even eating. And as a woman, once again, I want you to realize those things about your body, about yourself, and be able to live within your truth. Do as much research as you possibly can about your own body so you can gain more knowledge, because knowledge is power. Which is why, once again, being alone is always seen as something negative when it comes to women. Because once you know what you're not going to tolerate, you're not going to tolerate those things and you're going to stand on business, okay? But in that same sense, I want you to know that knowledge about your body and the changes that it experiences on a regular basis are very important. So go on the internet and find as much information as you possibly can, because before there was no access to such. We have a massive platform, Google, that allows us to just get information about our bodies, about the changes that we are experiencing on a constant basis that I feel like we take for granted. A quick search can lead to so much information about the luteal phase and all the changes that you experience during that time, and how you can deal with those emotions as they come before, a man is able to manipulate you and make you think that you're, spiraling, because your emotions can be valid and your emotions are not to be played with at the end of the day during that time period. I know that for me specifically, I didn't really know much about my period until maybe some years ago, when I started doing research about my body and wanting to deal better with my period and the symptoms that I was experiencing, because they were excruciating. I'm talking all the symptoms all at once. So once I was able to get more knowledge about what my body was experiencing, I was able to deal with things better and be able to live within my truth. And again, that came within being alone and wanting to know more about my body and wanting to know more about myself in general as a woman, because once again, we experience so many different things than men do, and we have to make sure that we account for them. And one of those changes is your iron levels around your period. That time frame, you're losing a lot of blood. So personally, I am anemic because for the longest, I didn't know that I needed to take iron supplements to be able to deal with, my blood coming out my body. And again, this is information that should be taught to us, but honestly was not taught to me. And maybe you have a different experience from your household or even your schooling and your education, but this is something that I had to learn the hard way, and I'm currently dealing with right now. Just making sure that I replenish my body when it comes to that period where I am losing a lot of blood, and I have to make sure that I eat leafy greens or even just take an iron supplement so I can deal with those changes that are happening within my body. I know personally over the past year or so, I made sure that I talked to my doctor about the changes that were happening in my body every single month, and how the symptoms were not something that I could personally deal with, like excruciating. I'm talking the worst. So I made sure to ask questions and tell them specifically what I was looking for, and they were able to help me and let me know more information. So now every single month around that time period, I make sure I bulk up on my greens. I don't eat any red meats, because somehow that works for me, even though I'm losing a lot of blood. But adding in that supplement with the iron that I mentioned before really helps me replenish my body during that time period. And I understand that it may be uncomfortable for a lot of people to spend that time alone and to really tap into their thoughts. At the end of the day, though, you really need to be able to do those things, because if you really think about it, you were born alone. You're gonna die alone. So at some point, you need to be alone to really understand yourself, your true inner self, your inner thoughts. We're constantly on social media, just scrolling, and we're ingesting all of that information unknowingly. And all of those thoughts, all of those ideas from other people, they affect our decisions if you really think about it. So being able to live in that uncomfortable moment of just being in your thoughts, being alone for a certain period of time where you're just like thinking about what it is that you want out of your day, out of your life, out of that time period where you are alone, then you have so much more power. I know for me specifically, I always have a mind that's literally scrambling, especially in the middle of the night. I feel like that's when my thoughts unravel. That's when I'm creative. When the world is shut down and asleep, that's when I work best. And what I learned over the years, over the past couple of months specifically, is that this happens because I don't spend that time alone to really, really tune into my thoughts, to really take some time and not be on my phone, to really take some time when I'm walking outside and being in nature to really listen to my thoughts, to really slow down, to really tap into those energies and those ideals that are flooding my brain. I'm constantly flooding my brain with other things. So when it comes to those times when you're alone and you're having those thoughts, don't run away from them. Don't feel the need to turn the TV on. Don't feel the need to pick up that phone. At the end of the day, you need that time alone. You really, really, really do, believe it or not. And especially as a woman, when society is constantly telling us what to do and we're always subjected to everybody's ideals of what a woman is, what a woman should be, what a woman should do, and all of those things. We need to be able to really sit in our inner thoughts and think about what it means for us to be alone, what it means for us to be a woman, what it means for us to live within our truth and to experience all of the things that our ancestors didn't experience when they were growing up, you know? I feel like it is a privilege to live in the time that we currently are in at the end of the day. We have so much more freedom than our ancestors did. We have so much more rights. We have so much more abilities. We have so much more representation, and we have so much more knowledge on so many things, whether it's mental health, physical health, and all the changes that women experience throughout their bodies. So I think each and every single one of us need to take some time alone. Take yourself out on a date. Take a little stroll by yourself. Live within your truth. Experience nature. Experience life. Experience your true inner self and really live within those moments where you're able to really tap into what it is that makes you happy so that you do not accept the bare minimum from anybody else that's around you. And I want to leave you guys with this quote that I feel like resonates with me so much because again, the time frame where you're alone can be so uncomfortable, but you really come out so powerful at the end of it when you realize certain things about yourself. So here's the quote for you guys. A season of loneliness and isolation is when the caterpillar gets its wings. Remember that next time you feel alone. I think this is so beautiful, not only because I personally love, love, love butterflies. I think they're like majestic and beautiful and just so interesting, but also because of the message behind it. It's basically telling you that you have so much growth within that time period where you're alone. A caterpillar goes and cocoons itself and is able to grow in this beautiful butterfly that has its wings and is able to fly and be everywhere, right? And when you look at it that way, it's basically telling you that that time alone is for you to really grow into a beautiful human being. You learn so much about yourself. You'll develop your wings and that's where true freedom comes from. Because a woman who's not being manipulated and being controlled is a powerful woman. So take some time throughout this month. Make sure to tune into yourself, spend some time alone, and learn about what makes you beautiful. All right, Serene fam, that is it for this episode. Make sure to tune in to all of my vlogs throughout this year where you'll be able to see different activities that you yourself can tap into and experience by yourself, with your friends, a loved one, or whomever is around. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until next time, bye.